Shabbat Shalom, friends.
Shabbat Shalom.
How are we? Are we okay? I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we can be together. I know life is complicated and busy these days. Thank God we can set aside a little bit of time for community, for tradition, as we navigate these complex days and times together. We're going to have a nice service together, an intimate service. We're going to have a little bit of music, a little bit of learning. We'll do our best together as we always do. I'm so glad that you can be here and be part of this night with us. As always, we're going to begin with a little bit of song to shift gears and put the week behind us officially as we join in singing Shalom Aleichem, which you can find on page 142. Welcome Shabbat by blessing our Shabbat lights and joining together in our Shabbat Kiddush, which we'll do now. And to lead us on this special night, it's my pleasure to welcome forward Bruce and Joan Tresky and to wish Bruce another happy birthday, which he celebrated this week. Candle blessing, page 120 and 121, which will be followed by Kiddush on 123.
So may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who follows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
And with that, we turn to 123. We can rise together for our Shabbat Kiddush as we join in Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen l'chaim. We can be seated again. Shabbat shalom, happy birthday. Enjoy every minute, okay? Thank you, Joan. Shabbat shalom. We join in singing Lecha Dodi as we welcome the Sabbath bride, pages 138 and 139. Tonight we join in verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. praise the entrance and welcome the start of our Sabbath.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha v'salam, tochem olim sekulam, boi kala, leka leka dodi, nikrat kala, b'nei p'nei Shabbat nikabela, leka dodi, nikrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela.
As is our custom, we can take a moment now to wish Shabbat Shalom to those around us. Feel free to introduce yourself to others. As we remain standing for our call to worship, Baruch Hu, page 146.
Barichu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed.
We can turn in our prayer book to 149 and there pray together. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Together we sing Shema, page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
We may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We do continue responsively at the bottom of page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered at Sinai. We bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. And we do sing our Song of Freedom, Micha Mocha, page 158. Tefillah can be found beginning on page 164, this most central collection of prayers. Please rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufia ki tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VeHanora, Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei Okol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevei Geula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mikoyo kol atah rav le'Hoshia, Morit atah. Mechalkel chaim b'chesed, Mechaye hakol b'rachamim ramim, Tzomit noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato l'ishini afar, Michamoka bal gevurot, Umitomela, Melech minit u'mechaye, U'masmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'kol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We may be seated. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. We do join now in our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, as we pray once more for greater peace, greater compassion in a world that feels so dark, so heavy, so divided, as much so as ever. And we pray that we might be able to hold on to the very idea of peace, the very idea of hope, that we might live with some hope in our hearts, even as the news day after day feels devastating and sometimes worse than that. May tomorrow bring greater peace. We sing In the Name of Shalom, page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki oto melech olam lekol hashalom. Ki oto melech olam lekol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha livarech et amcha Yisrael b'kol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim
At this important point in our service, we do offer a prayer for healing for those in our community, those in our own lives who may be in need of healing as we reach now the start of this Shabbat. And perhaps there is someone in your life, someone close to you who is struggling in some way. Now's the time we pray for them, and we pray together on their behalf. As a congregational community on this Shabbat, I know our prayers are very much with Ileana Cohn, Rick Ulrich, Lynn Romsberg, Jerry Dreskin, Ann Marsden, Sarah Oken, Gary Garnick, Michael Infanti, Shirley Friedlander, Jen Jones, Jocelyn Jackson, Mary Mednitsky, Murray Kammerman, Rick Forenell, Todd Pollard, Dr. Jerry Herman, Carrie Basin, Hudson Hodge, Harriet Rosenberg, Ari Sobel, Carol Schaefer, Jordan Maverick Steinberg, Tricia Tepper, Barbara Cohn, Mary Parker, Louis Alahat, Karen Bowen, Joan Major, Marcy Gittler, Mindy Fisher, Stephen Trombecki, Lisa Ager Brown, William Broderick, and Lily Tepper. If there's a name you'd like to add to this list, someone for whom you offer a Misha Berach, a prayer for healing, please feel free to rise and do so now as my glance meets your own. Our prayer for healing, Misha Berach, can be found on your song card.
Misha Berach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Misha Berach Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer
We'll pause for the sake of our own personal prayers. Shabbat Shalom again, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
These are questions. How are we? Are we feeling okay? Are we doing okay? Yeah, so we're going to do Ask the Rabbi, which is like code for we're going to chat a little, just a little. We don't get to chat so much, do we? So I have a couple questions here, and we'll see where it takes us. We'll do this for 5-7 minutes. We'll see how it goes. And this is a lovely night, but if you want a really, really special service, next week, Eliana is going to become a bat mitzvah, and she's going to help on Friday night, and she's going to help on Saturday, and it's going to be amazing, amazing. Last bat mitzvah of the year. Very, very special, so we're excited for her. Am I embarrassing you? Yes. I was sorry I wasn't with you last week. I was at my nephew's bar mitzvah in South Orange. We were on the south side of the Orange. That's where we were, and it was lovely. It's not often that I'm a attendee at services, and we sat there as a family of 5 for the first time in, I didn't even know. I couldn't remember the last time we did that. So that was lovely, right? I have 2 younger brothers. This is John. He's in the middle. He has 2 boys. And then my youngest brother, Adam, he has 2 girls, twin girls. That's the story, right? So questions and answers. Is that what we should do? Do we want to start with these on the card, or do you want to just fire off some questions that have been burning, eating at you? You've been up at night. You haven't been able to sleep. deep theological, spiritual quandaries. Do you have those? Are you carrying them with you? Not so much. Okay, so, well, let me answer the question on the card, and let's see where that takes us, okay? Eliana, are you good with that? Yeah. The first question is, can I read the handwriting? And the answer is, how come we were able to come up with the sacrifices and so forth when the Lord had to feed us manna? Okay, so how did we come up with all the items that we supposedly sacrificed in the wilderness? Is that the question? This feels like a Dr. Goldis question. Is that right? That was pretty good, right? Well, if you recall, in the book of Exodus, the book of Leviticus, we find ourselves in the wilderness. We're making our way to the land of Israel, 40 years in the desert. Desert, as we know, is a hot, dry, rather barren place. And here we are, as described in the Torah, offering up dolphin skins and fine linens and jewels. And where did these materials come from? Well, there's two answers that are offered. I don't know if either of these will be satisfying, but if not, we can come up with some of our own. So one, God provided. That's sort of a unsatisfying theological answer, I believe, but that God provided us with freedom, with opportunity, with the promised land, and so God also provided us with the items that we need in order to make sacrifices. The other answer, which I think might work a little better for us, is that it was when we looked within our own heart, within our own family, within our own possessions, we realized that we had more than we thought. And we found things that we didn't quite realize we had or had access to. That's kind of a nice sort of theological idea, I think. And I think it works for us. But those are the traditional answers that are given. Okay, let's see. When did you know you wanted to become a rabbi? And what gives you the most joy? Oh, that's so nice. So I think like all kids, I, for so long, only knew professional life as defined by my parents. I didn't really know anything else. I didn't know what it was like to be a doctor or an astronaut or a firefighter because my parents didn't do those things. What I saw up close was the life of a rabbi. And I had front row seats, for better or worse, to what it meant to be a rabbi, and the lifestyle that it entailed. Rabbi is a 24/7, 365 existence. And on the one hand, I saw that it can be a very hard life, which it can be. But on the other hand, I saw that you're given a kind of access, you're given entry into people's lives in ways that really nobody else is, if you think about it. Rabbi or clergy, we have the great honor of standing with people often on the absolute saddest days of their lives, but also on the absolute most joyous days of their lives. And so that struck a chord with me. And then as I got older, so that's as I was 15, 16, I was really sort of keenly aware of what my dad's life consisted of and sort of fascinated by it. And I was very involved in it goes without saying, maybe it doesn't go without saying, very involved in Jewish life as a teenager. I was president of our youth group, I was active in NIFTY, I was active in BBYO, I went to Camp Harlem every summer, I took part in all sorts of events and causes, and then I went off to college, Muhlenberg, and I was very active in the Hillel there. I was on the board, I was the vice president, and the thought of maybe doing this myself now once and for all, even if I didn't want to, which I did want to, there was nothing else that I could even imagine myself doing, nothing else that would allow me to combine all of the things that I had come to love. Working with kids, teaching, learning, helping people, and so I applied to rabbinic school as a senior at Muhlenberg, and I was the first ever rabbi to come from Muhlenberg, a Lutheran-affiliated school that probably only allowed Jews through its doors in the last 40 years, so the scales are a little tipped, but here we are. And what was the other piece? What gives you the most joy? Is this a Linda question? I'm good at this, right? Oh, that's a great question. Well, I was thinking about this today, that, the news is so harsh, and our world feels so harsh and heartbreaking so often right now. And I'm so thankful that part of my job entails, as maybe you saw on Facebook, Instagram, what have you, just hanging out with very innocent kids, as I did today at our last ECC Shabbat of the year. And they did a nice little thing for me, and I was just with them. And I'm so thankful that my job and my life, and I know that not every life is the same, allows for that kind of an outlet. That I have these moments throughout my day that are purely based on joy. We had a beautiful confirmation service on Sunday. Feels like a very long time ago. And what a gift that this is what I get to do. And I watch these teens shine, and I watch their parents with the glow in their eyes. What a gift for me. It heals my heart a little bit. So that's a good question. You're welcome, Linda. So why do we chant Torah instead of just reading it? I'm going to think about who wrote this. I have some suspicions. Well, let me put the question back to you. If you had to memorize something, is it easier to memorize a song of 5 verses or a poem of 5 verses? A song, right? And we are a people of an oral tradition where stories and texts were passed down orally and told from generation to generation. We didn't always have access to Wikipedia or Sefaria, which is a great website for Jewish text. So we had to use tools to help us to remember. And the Talmud will do that a lot. The Talmud uses mnemonic devices all the time. At the start of a big, long discussion, it'll give you like 10 letters. And each of those 10 letters will stand for a different argument that's about to come. So the chanting of Torah makes it more memorable. And also we have the concept of chidur mitzvah, which is the beautification of the mitzvah, right? So we should lend as much artistry and beauty to the mitzvah as we can. And we do that all the time, right? You don't just buy like a Seder plate that's plain and simple. You buy a Seder plate that's colorful and interesting and meaningful, for instance. So that would be my answer there. And what's my favorite beach to surf? I think that's from Anne. That feels like that's from Anne. Haven't been surfing since last summer, friends, because it's been a busy time. But maybe that'll change. Maybe that'll change, and I'll get a chance this summer. I have an app on my phone that tells me about like the waves and the beaches and the water temperature. And the app told me today that the water. Take a guess. How warm, shall I say, was the Atlantic City Ocean in LBI today? 55. So let's hold off on surfing for a couple days. So this is a little mini sermon, and then we'll end with this. So my little Sammy, he's not a surfer, but he loves skateboarding. He's a great little skateboarder. He's 9. You guys know Sammy. And he looks the part. He loves skateboarding. And so he wanted a new skateboard because he had completely destroyed his. So we went to the skateboard shop, and he's looking around. And I said to the owner, who, by the way, I walk in. I said, he said, Rabbi, how are you? I said, we're just here for the skateboards. I said, do I know you? It's nice to see you. I said, I don't know much about skateboards, so can you help us out? And he said, okay, Sammy, how old are you? I'm 9. Okay, you're about this tall. Okay, you guys should look at these skateboards over here. And Sammy starts looking at them, And he's picking them up, and he's trying them out. He says, these skateboards are so big. They're so heavy, he's saying to me. He said, this is not like my skateboard. I said, buddy, you're growing. You're bigger than when we bought that skateboard for you 18 months ago. I said, this is what happens. He said, I don't know if I'm ready. And you could see how this can become I said, well, getting bigger sometimes is hard. I said, we have to learn new things. We have to try new things. We have to adapt, which is a big word for a third grader. And we had like a moment where I had to convince him that he could use the skateboard. It's going to be new. It's going to be scary. It's going to be harder, heavier, but you're going to get used to it, buddy. And he came around. But it was a bit of a moment, and it spoke to change and growth and uncertainty. And I'll tell you one last little nugget. This is what I'm thinking about for a sermon down the road as we're thinking about change. This is a great sermon starter. I'm going to use it somewhere, somehow. I don't know how yet. So on May 23rd, that's not your birthday, is it? What's your birthday? May 23rd. It was a significant moment in the history of New York City. Just now, May 23rd. Do you know why? You missed this in the New York Times. Nothing to do with the Yankees. On May 23rd, in New York City, they removed the final payphone. There are no payphones, at least publicly, left in New York City as of 2 weeks ago. That's the start of a sermon, right? Change, renewal, payphone. They had a payphone at Camp Harlem long past when they should have, and it became like a monument to the past, a memorial. Sometimes I would call it I still have it on my phone. Where is Superman going to change? Online somehow. I don't know. Any questions, commentary? You can ask me anything. You have me right here. Anything at all. Literally. Marlene. How am I? That's how people ask me these days. How are you doing? I'm not allowed to ask. I say, how are you doing? And then they say, how are you doing? I'm good. We have a lot going on in our home and in our lives. Lisa's been at camp for 10 days already. And so it's me, plus 3 kids, plus a move, plus. But here I am. I'm still standing, to quote Elton John, and we're okay. Thank you. Steve? The Kaddish is traditionally the end of the service, and the idea is that there are angels with you as you pray, and you're sort of bidding them a farewell as the service now comes to an end. Brian? Oh, that's a small world. Cedar Crest, for those who don't know, is the school right down the street from Muhlenberg, and Muhlenberg was the boys' school, Cedar Crest was the girls' school. It was a part of the history. Yes. So first of all, great. I haven't watched the series, but I read the book. John Krakauer, all of his books are fabulous, in my opinion. You probably know Into Thin Air and Into the Wild, is it called? Into the Wild? Yeah. So polygamy is no more in Judaism, and it was really written out of practice by the time we got into the rabbinic period, and I think for all sorts of very good reasons. But clearly, it's still very much the case in other cultures, and I'll sort of leave that. It's not my place to comment on other people's or cultures. Oh, yeah. No, it exists very much so in the Talmud. It exists. So the Talmud will inherit sort of the text of the Torah, and we'll have to reconcile it. We'll have to sort of argue it away. We'll have to negotiate the text of the Torah. That's really what the Talmud is at its core, bringing the Torah to life in places where it feels it can, and explaining away those items that we feel are no longer possible. So we have all sorts of instances of polygamy that the Talmud will inherit and essentially, slowly, not outlaw as a sort of a statement of policy, but will explain as to why it's no longer advisable or appropriate. But never is there an official sort of statement. Yeah. Questions? Any questions? Do we cover some good ground? Tomorrow morning, for those who are concerned, I will be talking about the Torah portion. Larry is chanting from our Torah portion of Naso from Bamidbar. Naso is a good, healthy Torah portion with a lot to consider, including, by the way, the longest chapter in the entire Torah. Chapter 7 of Bamidbar is 89 verses. That's good for your trivia knowledge. Okay, we're going to hear some music and move toward the conclusion of our service. Shabbat Shalom, friends.
History's been leaning on me lately. I can feel the future breathing down my neck. it's going to lose its mind. Be more kind, my friends. Try to be more kind.
We will continue with Aleinu, found beginning on page 586. Please rise. Our thoughts do turn now to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and every nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, life and death. We recall at this time those taken from our congregational community in most recent days, including Frank Pinella, uncle of Frank and Carrie Amarillo, Beverly Bass, mother of Brad and Bryna Bass, Tai Nguyen, mother of Hung and Jim Kennedy. As well, we recall at this time those whose yahrzeit we mark this Shabbat: Eugene Friedman, Simon Glogauer, Rose Goodman, Chester Horowitz, Nicole Ayani, Sasson Levi, Larry Levine, Harvey Matheson, and Barry Zaleski. I would ask to rise at this time those with us on this night in the midst of observing Shiva, the first 7-day period of mourning, followed by those with us on this night in the midst of observing Shloshim, the first 30-day period of mourning, followed by those with us tonight who are within the first year of mourning the loss of a loved one, followed by those with us who tonight are observing the yahrzeit of a loved one. And lastly, if there is a name that has not yet been recited, someone for whom you say Kaddish, and you would care to share that name with us, please feel free to do so now as my glance meets your own. In all their names, in all their memories, and in the memory of the many for whom there is no one to say Kaddish, we rise together for the hallowed words of Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad divrach lerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayichon v'yomechon u'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mivarach Leolam Ulalmei Almaya, Yiparach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh, Yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha Barichu, La'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechemata, Damiran B'alma V'imru, Yehei Shlomo Rabbah Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Together we say, Amen. You may be seated. It's my pleasure to welcome forward our temple president, Diane Singer, to share tonight's announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. So as I listen to you, Rabbi, I kind of can empathize with Sammy and change. I don't know if you understand this, but every April, a new Mahjong card comes out, and I get very anxious, and I think I'm never going to adapt, especially the older I get. I know, it's tough, right? I see you ladies and gentlemen out there. So anyway, I understand, but eventually we do adapt, and it's all good. So anyway, thank you, had to mention. Thank you, Rabbi David, Cantor Sandy, Herb, for leading tonight's service. Thank you to Bruce and Joan Tresky for lighting our Shabbat candles and leading us in Kiddush. Also, thank you to Ann, Brian, I don't know if you helped with the greeting, and Helen for setting up Oneg. And as always, a special thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. Please join us tomorrow morning at 8:45 for Torah Talk and Bagels, followed by our Simply Shabbat morning service at 10 a.m. As Rabbi mentioned, it's Ileana's bat mitzvah next weekend, but it's also mark your calendars because we have two special Shabbats coming up. In addition to your bat mitzvah, next Friday night is our annual installation Shabbat. Our auxiliaries will be receiving a special blessing as their new boards step into their positions for the upcoming year. And June 24th, sadly, will be our last Shabbat with Rabbi David at Adith. So we're hoping you'll be able to join us for that special Shabbat and wish Rabbi David much success in his new endeavors. Tonight's Goneg is in the lobby. Hopefully you'll stay for a few minutes, catch up with your fellow congregates. Please be respectful. We are set up for Rabbi's dinner tomorrow night, which I hope I'll see a lot of you at. So please do not go in the social hall, the tapestry room, and don't start sitting at the bar. You're not getting served tonight. So, but we do have some wine off to the side for you. Anyway, tonight's thought for Shabbat is, a good life is when you smile often, dream big, laugh a lot, see, I made you laugh, and realize how blessed you are with what you have. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Our closing song, Ani Ve'ata, can be found on page 652. Please join us.
אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה אז יבואו כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם, לפניי זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה ננסה מההתחלה. יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר זה לא נורא. אמרו את זה קודם, לפניי זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.
We can join together in a motzi before making our way to our oneg. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.